Television. I'd like to welcome all of you joining us through Uganda Catholic Television, Catholic Faith Network, Catholic TV, Salt and Light Media, at Madarshan TV, Shalom TV India and Sunday Shalom, Shalom World Television Networks USA, and EWTN. And to our radio listeners, especially those of you tuning in through Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea, and anyone who may be picking up our shortwave radio transmission, or those of you picking up the transmission, the broadcast through other diocesan or local radio channels, and to those of you picking us up through other digital sources, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm Sister Bernadette, and it is a pleasure to be able to provide all of you today with the texts and commentary for this final event. There is an estimated 22,000 volunteers here this morning at the closing Mass, and yesterday for the vigil, an estimated 500,000 people participated in those events. And right now we're hearing the World Youth Day song for today, focusing on the theme, Mary got up or rose in haste. Our Holy Father, now we see him in the wheelchair coming up on the stage. The place where this event is taking place is a pedestrian walkway near the docks of Algés on the outskirts of Lisbon between Belém and Airas. As we see a stage located here, often used for concerts and festivals, bringing tens of thousands of people to this place. And it's one of the best places in Lisbon for taking long walks, for sport and running, cycling, and skateboarding. And you can get a great view of the city from here. The volunteers now greeting Pope Francis, who has now taken his chair. First we'll have a video, and then we'll be hearing 3 testimonies today. We hear the video now, although we don't have the images.
gratificante e alegra el corazón.
É uma oportunidade extraordinária para nós de conhecer outras pessoas que têm histórias de vida muito diferentes das nossas.
É uma missão que eu escolhi e para aumentar mais a minha fé.
Ho sentito una chiamata per servire tantissimi giovani che fanno parte di una chiesa che è un po' in cambiamento.
I wanted to give something back. Assim como Cristo morreu por nós, então nós também temos que dar o nosso esforço, o nosso apoio, o nosso amor.
Em cada peregrino, cada voluntário que eu vejo aqui, eu vejo a imagem e semelhança de Deus. Então isso me aproxima ainda muito mais dele.
Em 82 estava aqui no Parque Eduardo VII e João Paulo II falou aos jovens. Eu tinha 21 anos e foi no momento que mudou a minha vida. Por isso também estar aqui para mim tem um significado muito forte.
Espero regresar a México siendo una mejor persona, una mejor versión de mí, más agradecida y feliz con la vida.
La JMJ Lisboa 2023 manifiesta que los jóvenes tenemos una parte muy importante en la iglesia y que está viva y que todos somos parte de ella.
Esta es la juventud del Papa. ¡Vivo Papa! ¡Vivo Papa! World Youth Day Lisboa.
Queridos jóvenes, quisiera ser claro con ustedes. En la iglesia hay espacio para todos. Dios nos ama como somos, no como quisiéramos ser o como la sociedad quisiera que seamos, como somos. No tengan miedo, tengan coraje, vayan adelante, sabiendo que estamos amortizados por el amor que Dios contiene. Dios nos ama, digámoslo junto todos, Dios nos ama. Gracias.
And the crowd now reacting to the video that they've seen, some highlights from World Youth Day. We see our Holy Father here, flanked by Cardinal Farrell, the prefect of the Dicastery for Laity, Family and Life, and the Cardinal Patriarch of Lisbon. Now we'll hear a testimony from Chiara.
Experience that the shared faith gives an incredible joy and that life with Jesus is an adventure. Whether in the work with the volunteers, in meetings with pilgrims, or at Mass, I have been able to feel this deep joy that until now nothing and no one has been able to give me, and that I have been looking for, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously, for several years. It is a joy that cannot be equated with the fun one finds in the world. It is the feeling of being completely loved and accepted by God, and being in a living young church that, for example, attracts millions of young people to the World Youth Day who have either already experienced this love of God or are searching for it. And despite moments of loneliness, doubt, and homesickness, there was always someone who was there for me, and who, before I noticed how bad I was, took care of me, like in a family, the church. My second point that I have realized is that life with God is not boring. It is pure adventure. God has such great plans for me and for you, for each of us, and because of his real, deep, and honest love, he only ever wants the best for you. If someone had told me a year ago that I would be going to Lisbon, away from my familiar surroundings, my friends, I would never have thought it could be possible, because I was incredibly scared. But Jesus showed me during my time in Lisbon that even the smallest yes can change my life decisively, if I just have a little faith in his loving plans. During the preparations of the World Youth Day, I was able to recognize Jesus in my ministry by giving people the opportunity to meet him. Each of these pilgrims I have helped could be one whose life has been changed forever because they experienced this fascinating love of God at the World Youth Day. Also in moments of community events with the other volunteers or in adoration and the Holy Mass, there were moments in which one could feel the presence of Jesus. And finally, during the World Youth Day, where people from all over the world and therefore from the most different cultures came together, who nevertheless all believe in the one God and are searching for his love. Since I have already helped in a Christian youth movement before my time as a volunteer at the World Youth Day and was fascinated by the joy and love of God, I will continue this even more in the future. I want to enable as many young people as possible to have this life-changing experience of God's love and joy in their own lives, as I did once. Thank you.
We've just heard from 18-year-old Chiara. She spoke in English. Chiara is from Germany. And Francisco now taking the microphone. He is from Portugal. And he's a volunteer from an organization called Comité Organizador Local. The World Youth Day has really been for me a real journey, a pilgrimage that I embarked on the first day I accepted the challenge to be a part of it, 335 days before it all happened. And that brings me here today, 1 year older, with blisters on my feet, but with the same energy and will and with one certainty. It is with a fuller heart that I am here. For many here, a long journey of volunteering. For me, my very first serious job. And then on a personal level, it was an experience of great inner growth in which I got to know myself better, to reconcile inwardly. And all the journey is still long, to dive deeper, to discover who I am. In the course of my life and growing up, already aware of the good it did to me to help others, volunteering is now a part of my life. From cheering up children, delivering food to the needy, keeping company with the elderly, painting walls, I had the opportunity to experience a little bit of everything and more, to let God live in every moment. And then a greater presence on my side began to make sense. I began to hear Jesus in the smiles and the life stories and the off-key songs filled with the past and the need for companionship and an experience of surrender. This whole journey has defined me as the Francisco I am today, and World Youth Day was no exception. Yesterday, at the age of 24, leaving college, entering the world of work in a routine of greater responsibility, the uncertainty of the future was something I dreaded. Not only did I not feel prepared, but there was something inside me that was not done, as if I was going on a trip. That Francis was going on a trip and knew he had left his bed unmade at home. A few months ago, I didn't know what I was, but today I can put into words what I felt, working on the World Youth Day local organizing committee. In daily prayers and conversations, I've worked daily during all these months of preparation, and I have found Jesus. Being part of this journey has given me things I was not looking for but really needed. Working on this project, the constant over-responsibility, that time of only 100 days left, that seems like yesterday, the ticking of each passing day, that made me restless when I woke up, and yet now many memories, smiles, and nostalgia. An eye-opener to new realities, a strengthening of my faith based on the experiences of those around me, a true friendship in the work environment, as all young people should be able to experience in any company. I've been fortunate during this past year of preparation for World Youth Day to meet so many people from all over the world. The beauty of diversity, the various faces of the Church united for a common purpose, to be together, the face of one of the greatest events in the world, from young person to young person in the service of God, with Mary as an example of someone getting up and going quickly on a mission, as we will all do with courage and energy. Today, at the age of 24, having left college, having entered the world of work, and going into a routine of greater responsibility, the beautiful and challenging uncertainty of the future is something that has shifted from fear to motivation. And this motivation will stay with me and every day help me to make my bed and continue to enjoy the journey. This Francisco, whom I've recognized in others who have shared with me and continue to share with me the sadness and happiness of life, comes here today with a sense of accomplishment and a journey made up of so many steps of faith. This journey surrounded by God and others, being myself, consistent with myself inside and outside the church, allows me here today to say what I have learned best, what I used to be afraid to say, but am no longer afraid to say today, and I certainly say it also by giving voice to the young people here. I want to be a saint. And Francisco now going up to greet the Holy Father. Again, Francisco said several times, 24 years old, a new college graduate, making his way now in the world with his first work experience as a World Youth in the World Youth Day preparation organization. Now we hear from Philip. He's 33 years old. He's a parish volunteer from Portugal. Holy Father, the experience of World Youth Day Lisbon 2023 exceeded all the expectations we could have had regarding this event. Being able to welcome young people from all over the world with whom we share our faith is a cause for gratitude to our Lord for this unique opportunity. These have been months of great concern, of great anxiety, but of even greater joy to be in His service, to make today's youth young people of action, of service. To sum up the World Youth Day experience is an impossible task, and the reason is this, because while it is a gathering of thousands of young people celebrating their faith, it is above all a very personal encounter with the Lord. And it is from the combination of these two aspects that the experience of every volunteer and every pilgrim is born. For me, it was an experience of true ecclesial community, where in every moment I felt the living faith that constitutes the Church of Christ and the love that was felt, that is still felt in every person here. If I had to choose one moment, it would be when, in the company of millions of young people around the world, and with the Holy Father, we prostrated ourselves before Jesus in the Eucharist. More rewarding is being in my country and my city, becoming a unique experiencing a unique experience of faith and fellowship. Jesus has been the constant presence throughout the World Youth Day preparation journey. Inevitably, I recognized Him in every person I met, whether from my parish or not. As St. Teresa of Calcutta teaches us, the fruit of faith is love, the fruit of love is service, and the fruit of service is peace. And so all the volunteers, and then he named his parish, and there are many of us, more than 300, have been working to make this peace possible so that the world might see that youth are not disconnected from their faith, but on the contrary, there are many young people who recognize in Jesus the only bearer of peace. And so there is only one thing to do, to serve Christ, so that the world will achieve peace. But it was not only in the volunteers that I recognized Jesus. The entire parish was involved this year in preparing for this day, this World Youth Day. The elderly prayed a lot that the work of the volunteers would go as smoothly as possible. They also prayed for all the young people of the world who would go to Portugal. The children taking part in the catechetical lessons, for their part, have known what World Youth Days are all about, or they've learned what World Youth Days are all about. They've participated in collecting goods for the pilgrims' stay and dream even more of the day when they can participate in World Youth Day in the future. This is the challenge of the day, not to let the work done end this week, but to carry it into the future in each of our parishes. I believe that each in our own way, we all have groups or voluntary works that through which we can serve as an example for us as we offer ourselves to serve in this World Youth Day. In my parish, there are many good examples of volunteerism to follow. from the parishioners who accompany families, not only materially, but spiritually, to the collection of goods, not forgetting the home visitors. These are the real volunteers who do this all year round. I have the grace of belonging to a very lively community that was once said to be the parish with the largest number of parishioners in Europe. Many projects have already emerged that continue to this day, as well as many that have naturally ended to make way for others. It's a parish that's very alive, a vibrant parish. But with that also comes the challenge to reach everyone. There are people who go to the most remote places to pray so that the inhabitants have someone to pray with. With 3 youth groups and a scout group, our parish has personnel for the service of Christ and others. The challenge remains. All these volunteers are praying for you, Holy Father. Please also remember each of us in your prayers, that we might continue to be young people who nurture a desire to serve. This is Felipe, who is now greeting our Holy Father and receiving his rosary. Now we'll hear from the Patriarch of Lisbon, Manuel Clemente, who's been sitting next to our Holy Father. Holy Father, on behalf of everyone, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your presence at this World Youth Day, and for all you have offered us during these days through your words and gestures that we will never forget, will always carry with us. Thus ends a program full of unforgettable moments, and it ends with this gathering of the volunteers who made it possible for everything to happen in the best of ways and with the best of results.
Ou seja, a minha referência e agradecimento ao voluntário número 1, Sr. Dom Américo Aguiar.
And a primary thanksgiving, and then he said that the person sitting next to him did a lot. I think he's the auxiliary bishop who was in charge of the preparations. Some of these volunteers have been involved in preparation for years, others more recently, but all of them animated by an infectious enthusiasm that has managed to make them overcome natural fatigue and challenges. They are living proof that possibilities have the dimension of hearts and become reality when we do not stop moving forward on the path of goodness and dedication and availability to all. I also believe, Holy Father, that the volunteers here present, national and international, are the most expressive face of a youth that the Church and the world can count on to rejuvenate in a redoubled communion and solidarity. We can call them the World Youth Day 2023 generation. They will surely remain marked by what they have done, because the good accomplished always improves those who practice it. To all the volunteers, my warmest thanks.
Mas igualmente a vossa santidade.
But these thanks go equally to your holiness, because all these days, beginning with St. John Paul II, have had the Pope as the main protagonist. From the very first moment, we could count on your encouragement, your suggestions, and your contagious enthusiasm. You always told us that you would be with us, but we also always feel with the Holy Father in communion of desire and intention. Thank you so much, Holy Father, for this World Youth Day, which was in a very special way yours, in times so lacking in such events that gather the world's youth around irrenounceable goals as disciples of Christ, and brothers and sisters to all men and women in our common home, which must be increasingly a home for everyone. The generosity of the volunteers who made this World Youth Day possible is a sign that this can indeed happen. It is a prophecy of the world to be constructed. And your presence, Holy Father, has strengthened us in the certainty that it will be so. Thank you very much, Holy Father. Yes, the other person that His Eminence pointed out is Auxiliary Bishop of Lisbon and President of World Youth Day Foundation, who was named recently to be among those who will become a cardinal at the end of September, Americo Aguiar. And now we'll hear our Holy Father, what he would like to say to these volunteers who made this World Youth Day possible. Dear friends, good afternoon and thank you.
Gracias al Patriarca de Lisboa por su palabra.
I thank the Patriarch of Lisbon for his words, and Bishop Aguiar, and all of you for having worked so hard and so well. You have made these unforgettable days possible. You have labored for months, quietly, without fuss, not seeking the limelight, so that we could all be here to sing together. Jesus lives and does not leave us alone. We will never stop loving. Not only that, you have been a good example because you work together as a team. Your efforts have been more than work. They are a service. Thank you. A service, and services like Mary, who set out and went with haste to serve her cousin Elizabeth. She felt the urgency to share her joy in service. To share her joy in service. Joy in service. We can think of Zacchaeus, who hurried down from the tree to meet Jesus and to welcome him in his home. We can think of the women and the disciples who on Easter ran from the upper room to the tomb and back to announce that Christ was risen. Those who love do not stand idly by, but hasten others. Those who love serve, and those who love run to meet others. And you have run. You've run a lot in these months and days.
Yo pude ver el final nomás en estos días, ver mientras respondían a mil necesidades.
I watched as you met 1,000 needs. Your face is marked at times by fatigue. At other times you were somewhat overwhelmed by the pressures of the moment. But I noted something, that your eyes were shining because of the joy of serving. Thank you.
Ustedes posibilitaron este encuentro mundial de la juventud.
You made all of this. You made this World Day possible. You did great things with the smallest of gestures. And this creates friendship. But it's not like a kind of amplifier that what you have told us in your wonderful testimonies. You ran in another way, renewing in the name of Jesus. You came to Lisbon to serve, not to be served. Thank you. Many thanks.
Y ahora quisiera ser yo el amplificador.
Now I would like to be a kind of amplifier for you so that what you have told us in your wonderful testimonies may be heard clearly. Chiara, Francisco, and Felipe. All three of you spoke to us of a special encounter with Jesus. You reminded us that meeting Christ is the most important encounter, the one that drives every other, that moves life forward. renewing our personal encounter with Jesus. This is the most important encounter of our lives. Renewing our personal encounter with Jesus each day is the heart of Christian living, and to do something every day so that it remains alive in our hearts. It begins a simple yes. A simple yes can change our lives. Yet a yes said to others also does much good. You experienced this even in moments of tiredness and fatigue. Thank you. And Francisco, you told us that here you found something you needed, even though you didn't know you were looking for it. As you walked, worked, and prayed with others, you realized that you could not let yourself be imprisoned by the mess of the unmade beds of the past, nor live with a feeling of being unfulfilled. Instead, with the help of Jesus and your brothers and sisters, you were given the opportunity to tidy the room of your life, and this is really beautiful. This day helps us to reorganize our lives. For this day, no, but for Jesus who is in our midst and who makes himself seen in order to put order in our lives. It's good to put our lives in order. And what this means is we have to open our hearts. And so we have to put our hearts in order. And finally, Felipe, among the many fine things you shared, you said something that I want to emphasize, that you experienced a double encounter here, a meeting with Jesus and a meeting with others. This is very important. The encounter with Jesus is a personal and unique moment which can only be described and recounted up to a certain point. But it always comes through a journey made with others, in company, and with the help of others. We find Jesus in the service that we do to others. And I'd like to leave you with an image. As many of you know, there's, to the north of Lisbon is a place, Nazaré, where it is possible to see waves up to 30 meters high, which attract surfers from all over the world. In these days, you also have faced a real wave, not of water, but of young people who have poured into this city. Yet with God's help, with great generosity and mutual support, you have ridden this wave.
Han desafiado esta gran obra. Fíjense que son valientes, ¿eh?
You face the challenge of this big wave. You're very courageous. Thank you. I'd like to tell you, carry on. Keep it up. Keep riding these waves of charity. Be propelled by love. Be surfers of love. This is the homework or the task that I am recommending to you right now. That the service you've done here in this World Youth Day be the first of many waves of goodness. Each time you will be carried higher, closer to God. And this will be your path in order to move toward a better vantage point. Once again, thank you to everyone. Have a great journey, and please continue to pray for me. Our Holy Father's final words here during his last event here in World Youth Day.
gesto misionero consistió en una visita a instituciones por parte de grupos de voluntarios para dar a conocer la Jornada Mundial de la Juventud Lisboa 2023. Los voluntarios de la JMJ visitaron alrededor de 600 instituciones, que en total representa a más de 48,000 personas. Con el gesto misionero hemos querido elevar la JMJ a todos aquellos
She's recounting where all of these volunteers come from. And there's going to be a missionary gesture.
We visited hospitals, prisons, nursing homes, supporting centers for people with disabilities. To bring the visited people with us, we asked each one to write their name on a bracelet. That bracelet with the name of the visited person was in the wrists of our volunteers for the week of the World Youth Day. Santo Padre, con este gesto, hicimos lo que
with this
pediste a
action,
nosotros en esta Jornada Mundial de la Juventud.
everyone,
No olvidar que tenemos un nombre que Dios llama.
they're bringing all these names.
Saber que con ese nombre queremos cambiar el mundo sin
And that
medos.
with these names, through these people these names who represent people, they hope to change the world.
Para Dios y para el Papa contan todos, 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 todos.
To change the world, we need to have roots, as you've said. And he repeated everyone, 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 because this has been the word that our Holy Father's been repeating in several of his discourses. And now, this missionary gesture. One of the young volunteers has gone up, and it looks like they've put a bracelet on our Holy Father's, on the Holy Father's arm, and the Holy Father now hugging the young volunteer who went up to him. So it's a little arm wristband that they've given the Holy Father. And now we await Our Father. But first, all of these World Youth Day volunteers expressing, I see that you have a good voice, and now let's pray together.
Oremos como el Señor nos enseñó. Pai nosso, que estais no céu, santificado seja. Venha a nós o vosso reino. Seja feita, assim na terra como no céu. O pão nosso de hoje, perdonai-nos. Livra-nos do mal. O Senhor esteja convosco. Bendito seja o nome do Senhor. O nosso auxílio vem do Senhor. Abençoe-vos, Deus Todo-Poderoso, Pai, Filho, Espírito Santo. E agora a subir-se a la ola.
And now go catch the wave. And we're hearing the 25,000, the crowd of volunteers, 25,000 strong. Our Holy Father shaking hands with Cardinal Farrell, who is the prefect of the Dicastery for the Laity, Family, and Life, who has the task of preparing these World Youth Days along with the local church where the World Youth Day takes place. This is the final event of the Pope's 5-day journey. He arrived here on Wednesday. Our Holy Father now in his wheelchair as we look on the beautiful icons that have been on the stage. An icon of Jesus on the cross, the empty tomb, and then Christ the King in the center. This has been a unique trip. Our Holy Father departing for the most part from all of his texts today. He stayed pretty much on text. But in his previous meetings with young people, for the opening ceremony, the Way of the Cross, and yesterday for the vigil, as well as this morning for the homily,